You're listening to Blue Collar CEO, the podcast that's all about helping you build a better, more profitable, and more sustainable home service business. Each week, we'll cover a different topic that will help enable your company to move forward to success. And here's your host, Ryan Redding.
What is up, Blue Collar CEOs? It's Ryan, and so good to be with you today. I am here today to introduce you to Vishon, who is the founder and CEO of Perfect Efficiency AC, based in New York, where he leads with over 20 years of HVAC expertise with a visionary approach. His commitment to innovation drives a dynamic work culture, empowering his team to think creatively and grow each day. And he has a huge dedication to excellence, which has positioned Perfect Efficiency as an industry leader, redefining what exceptional HVAC service truly means. This is a fascinating conversation, talking about his story of when he immigrated to the United States from the Caribbean to his journey to HVAC, and now teaching not just his family, his brothers. He has entered the trades with force in New York. So lots of things that are really inspiring about this conversation, but I'm going to shut up. Let's introduce you to Vishon. I'm really glad we were able to finally get you on the show and schedule time to talk, because I know HVAC is a big passion for you, and that's something we want to spend some time talking about. But for the boys and girls at home who maybe don't yet know who you are, do you mind? Can we just start there for a second? Who are you and what do you do?
I'm the president of Perfect Efficiency Air Conditioning, Inc. in New York. And my name is Vishon Sugram. I run the company with my wife. Her name is Alicia. She's usually dealing with the operations. I'm more outside and in the sales and technical parts of it.
Yeah.
So we got a good team that we work with. They're all very educated in air conditioning, because that's one of our things is teaching and making sure that everybody is knowledgeable in what we're doing in the industry. So that's a little bit about us.
Yeah, that's awesome. How, because if I understand, like you're in Queens, right?
Yes, I'm in Queens.
How did you get into the trades? Like, did you grow up in the trades? Did you kind of stumble your way into it? Like, what's your story to get here?
Well, when I first came to this country, this is 23 years ago, actually, I got introduced to doing cooling towers and heat exchange. I actually used to work with Evapco, which is a huge cooling tower manufacturer. And I really got into just doing the installation part of it. I used to like being on all the, they're usually on top of the roofs on huge buildings in the city. So we would literally go to the shipyard, take these things down, and put them back up on top of the roof. So it got me interested then when I started doing it. And after I left there, I started doing a little bit of construction here and there, and really didn't like that type of work, with the dust and all the other sheetrock stuff. Nothing against it, but, I kind of like the mechanical part of it more. So then I got a job doing residential HVAC in Long Island, and I would go and pretty much do the install with an old timer. His name was Ronald Timpone. He owned Superior Heating and Air Conditioning, and he taught me a lot, and he really got me to like doing air conditioning, with just fabricating used sheet metal and just the concept of how it actually operates. So my passion grew really with him as I started doing residentials. And right after, I think I worked with him for about 3 years, and then I got an opportunity to work for a union company. And I ended up getting this job with PJ Mechanical, which is one of the largest air conditioning contractors in Manhattan. And I started up there as an apprentice and started really getting into bigger commercial air conditioning, like chillers and just a lot of water-cooled units, that kind of stuff. So it kind of brought everything together when I got there. And after about 2 months in, I had an interview with the executive VP, and she asked me, why do I want to do this? And I told her I'm very passionate about it. And back then, I really didn't have that much money to invest into books. So I would literally go and I'll see the guys with with the big HVAC manual in their trucks and just collecting dust pretty much. I
That's
used to be
crazy.
like, can I borrow that? And I remember I used to work for places like Comcast and HBO, a lot of network based places. That's where I was stationed, mainly 42nd Street, 6th Avenue, around that area,
Uh-huh.
as an apprentice. And I used to go with the technician there, and I'll ask him like, "Hey, can I borrow the book?" But I wouldn't be able to take this big book on the train along with tools and my tool bag and my lunch in there.
Just too much.
So
Yeah.
it was just a lot. So I ended up, I would pick, like when we go work on a unit or do preventative maintenance on it and learning the system, I would literally either take the diagram off of the unit. I'll make a copy of it, and then I'll put back the diagram inside of the unit, learning how the schematics worked and that kind of stuff. And so he thought that, oh, you're very good at what you're doing. So, and he saw the passion in me for what I was trying to accomplish. And I would take his books, and everybody in Comcast started getting to know me better because I'll be the guy that goes around and, when the air conditioning isn't working, I'm the guy that goes there and does all the troubleshooting of the units and eventually get them running. So I got access to the copy machine, and she gave me a card that I could scan, and that's where when I learned something new, I would go to the manual, I'll find that chapter, I'll make a copy, and I would literally sit on the train because I had an hour ride in and an hour ride back. So I had 1 hour to pretty much deep dive into whatever I was working on and trying to learn this. And when I got the opportunity and I opened up my tool bag and I showed, her name is Helene Paul. She's now retired, but when I showed her that, she was like surprised that I was actually making copies and have all these manuals and everything there. That she said, you know what? In spring, the union is going to have their classes, and just call me to remind me. I'm going to put your name up for union classes. And that's how I ended up getting into it really technical because they gave me the opportunity to go to school, and I was part of the local 638 school. And that's how I ended up putting in all my energy into. I said to myself, I remember at Comcast one day, one of the supervisors came in and he had me draw the refrigeration cycle on a board, on a whiteboard in a big conference room with, probably like a 40 table conference table. And I was intimidated that I froze up. And he said to me, you should know this like the back of your hand. And I think because I felt embarrassed that time, I took it on myself that I would just, you know what, he's right. Why would I be coming to work and not know the stuff inside out?
Yeah.
And that's what created lit that fire under me, so that I just started hitting the books really hard. And before you know it, 3 years later, I was one of their top technicians. So,
That's crazy.
that was my walk to air conditioning and liking it this much.
So another thing that's unique about you, which I know a lot of people work with family, but sometimes it's not always the most fun. What is it like having your spouse be a part of the business too? Like, does that create additional special types of stress?
At first, it was really hard. I mean, working with your wife, it's very difficult because we see things in different lenses, right? And she might see things differently than I would. Like, I was all about the money, she was all about the relationships, right? And at first, it was really rocky. I would say the first year and a half, just working with her and understanding her dynamic in the work environment, it took a lot. It took a toll on us with our relationship at home because it was hard to separate work and home. So I wasn't the type of person coming from a background from where I came from. I came from the Caribbean. I'm from Guyana, and we don't really express our emotions well, or we wouldn't take. I would think counseling wasn't something that I wanted to do, but my sister-in-law, she's actually a chaplain in the army, and she said, like, listen, hey, I see you guys are struggling, not necessarily as in business, but at home. So we ended up doing some counseling and therapy, and it opened up my eyes to a lot that I was having faults with. And I think just recognizing or going back into your own self to look at or to recognize what it is that the problems are and to actually work on fixing them. Now we have one of the best relationships ever. Like we still see things different because we're still wearing different glasses, like, just the way that we see it. But we come to a place in our marriage and the business that I think actually drew us closer. And now we have a better relationship in what we do now.
That's awesome. I think it's interesting how you talk about it. And even I applaud your effort to go to counseling to work on your marriage, because I think those relationships are really important. Like it is, I would probably argue that the partner that you choose in life is one of the most important predictors of your success and the quality of your life, right? If you have the right partner, everything else is easy. If they have the wrong partner, everything else is hard. So working and investing in that relationship to make it the most it can be is huge. But what's interesting is that there is an inherent amount of conflict as it relates to a business model, right? So I would make the argument that the goal of marketing is to break sales. Like ultimately, you want more leads coming in that you can reasonably close. You can't close 100%. You either can't get to them, whatever, right? You should be breaking some amount of sales. And the point of sales at some point is to break ops. Hey, you're selling stuff like more than you have the capacity to do. You've got your guys booked out. Like sales should be always trying to break ops. Like there's this inherent sort of, the business should be passing that stress on to the next part of the business if it's being done well.
Right.
And in a marriage, sometimes you want to avoid conflict. You want to avoid stress. You want everything to be happy and have nice walks in the park. And so now you're saying, hey, you're primarily doing a lot of the field stuff, a lot of the sales stuff. She's doing the ops stuff. You're inherently making her life worse. And in some ways, she's inherently making your life worse in the field. And now you get to go home and clock out at the end of the day and pretend that you're not carrying all that stress with you, which I think is why it's a really important thing and really helpful that you chose to do the marriage counseling and work on it from that way. So good job, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, marriage in itself, it's one of the hardest jobs. Like, it's easy to fix an AC unit or put in a new one, right? Like, it's the same process. It might be a different place, but working on yourself or just investing into something like that, I know a lot of people that did the same thing, and even when I was leaving my job and I told them that, my wife is going to be my partner, my bosses was like, "Are you crazy?" And I was like, I choose not to. And like I said, it was hard at first, but I choose not to let the status quo define us as a couple. So we just constantly put in the work. I mean, I think she put in a lot more work than I did until I realized. But, women are like that. They're more resilient in a lot of ways, and especially making the marriage work. And we also have two small kids. When I left, one of my daughter, she was 2.5, and my son was 1 when I left. So raising 2 children and dealing with the stress of building a business was very difficult. And I mean, even when we got our office, like we worked so hard together that we were the ones that, when I got the space, I wanted it to look good. She wanted it to look good. I was just like, it's good just the way it is, like there's walls, there's a floor, there's a ceiling. And she was like, no, she's like, I can't be working in an environment like that. So she wanted it nice. And so, we had to work together on trying to figure this out. And together we built whatever it is that we did build. And thank God that we're still here today and our relationship actually grew better through the business.
Yeah.
But yes, it is very difficult knowing that I'm out in the field but like, even if she was here, she would even tell you that even though I was doing air conditioning, I remember because we really didn't have that much money then. I would go home and while she's sleeping, I would literally pull. I had a little mag light back then, and it wasn't LED then, right? It was just the little old school mag light. The big ones are you had the small one that came out after the fact.
Yeah, you're right.
I would go under the blankets, right? Cover up with two blankets, really and I'm looking at reading there because she had to go to work the next day and I didn't want to wake her up. So a lot of times she was like, when I didn't understand something, I would go to her and be like, hey, I read this, but I really didn't understand it that well. Can you read it? Maybe you could shed some light on it. And eventually, like she would tell you, I was doing air conditioning from the time you was doing air conditioning because, yes, she didn't get into it technical, but she would read about it because I would give it to her to read, or I'll do a big job and I'm coming home telling her, I just did a compressor today, this and this and this, and and she had the patience to listen to me because back then I was a technician. She was in childcare, so she really didn't have like a mechanical or a technical background coming from taking care of kids and or just doing daycare. And I'm coming from doing this strenuous job of coming home with dirt in my nails every day,
Yeah.
And so she really, she was, I would say she was doing air conditioning just as long as I was from the time we got together or we got married. So I respect her in a lot of ways. She respects me. And I think that's one of the main things that we really thrive on is just having respect for each other and true respect. Obviously, love grows, right? So
Totally.
So yeah, it's difficult, but she's good at sales too. Like even if she's out there.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
We're a great team. We close out really, like if we got a real technical customer that we try, because we do a lot of high end installations and stuff like that, and like again, she's more of a listener. I'm more of a, oh, we got to do this or that, right? But she would like more absorb more and listening to a customer more than probably, and she'd be like, she would even say like, I don't think you heard her or you heard him, but you didn't really listen, like, or you didn't read between the lines. And a lot of times you go in and she would be, I would just tell her, I was like, so then I think you should be the one to close the job out. And she does, so just bouncing off each other. It's a good
she thing. In earshot? Is she forcing you to say these things?
No, she's not even. She's
okay.
Not even.
I'm curious. So, and I'm curious, and thank you for sharing like so much of that. But and also, because building a business is hard, being in business with your spouse is hard. Immigrating to a new country and starting over is hard. Do you feel like so much, like that you're more poised now? Like, because that's just a lot of struggle. That's a lot of like change. It's a lot of learning. That's a lot of figuring things out. That's a lot of trial and error. What has all that been like for you? And what lessons, like where you are now, looking back on your journey, what lessons do you think stand out to you?
Oof. There's so much. I think I could probably write a book on what not to do than what to do, right?
That's actually a good sign. That's a really good sign.
Yeah. So just, I think with us going through, like, I left my company February 28th, 2020. This was 2 weeks before COVID. I had 3 employees, 3 field workers, myself, and Alicia, but she really wasn't part of it like that. She was just supporting me, like, okay, you go ahead, like, just you know what you're doing, but she wasn't really part of the company at that point. And I continued paying all my employees. Back then, we really didn't have a full uh, payroll or anything like that. I didn't know anything about, you know, how that operations was going to go because I never went to business school, neither did she. So, and I tell people this all the time, doing air conditioning and running an air conditioning company has nothing to do with each other. Like, yes, it does, but it doesn't. Like, it's a completely different, like, I would say a completely different playing field. Same trade, but different playing field because the actual job could get done. And that's part of it, right? But like running the company and making sure that you have money for payroll and all the other stuff that you really didn't think about while you were a technician or while I was a technician, then, it came into play now that I had to figure this out. And she was there with me to help us figure it out together. But I remember even during that time, I was like, because it's not only, well, after I started at PJ, I actually got my 3 other brothers to work there because I got
that's cool.
4 siblings, right? And I got 3 brothers and 1 sister. And I pulled in one of my brothers. He was doing plumbing, and for lack of better terms, I said, "Dude, do you want to continue plunging shit for the rest of your life, or you could run some pipes and it's a clean environment." So he said, "I like doing plumbing." I was like, "So why don't you just give it a shot, right? Like, just try it out." And obviously, I was a great employee. My bosses loved me, and when I went and sat down with my boss, I was like, "Listen, I got one of my brothers want to come here and work." They were like, "We really don't do that because we don't really hire siblings, especially in that situation." But I knew my brother, and I know how hard he worked because I came to this country first, and then my siblings came after me. So I kind of paved the way. And when I got a side job, I would take him with me just to help me run the job, or that's how we ended up. And I told him, I was like, "You just come and figure it out. I'm going to talk to my boss." I talked to my boss, and I was like, "Just give him a shot. If you don't mind, just interview him." I was like, "You don't have to hire him. It's fine." I was like, "You don't even have to put him to work with me. You could put him to work with somebody else." And they gave him the shot. And within a year and a half, he was in his own truck too, right? He was doing his own thing. And even at that, when overtime came around and they'll ask me, "Who do I want to work with?" I was like, "Who do you think I'm going to tell you?" Right? "I want to work with my brother. His name is Andy." I was like, "I'll take Andy." And me and him just really worked. And the difficult jobs that they would give us, we would complete it before the time or within the time that they gave us. So they were like, he goes to me, my boss calls me up after a year and a half, and he's like, "Do you have any other brothers?" I was like, "Yes, I have." I was like, "I got 2 others." And one of my middle brother, which is Tony, I had gotten him a job doing building maintenance because I knew a lot of people from the industry at that point, and I got him a job doing maintenance, and he ended up becoming the super for the building.
Oh, that's crazy.
And that's how we ended up getting him into the trade. And I told my boss, I was like, "Yeah, I do have one more." I was like, "You want to give him a shot?" He goes, "I don't even need to interview him. Is he anything like you guys?" I was like, "We came from the same cut, so I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's not a person, but if you want to give him an interview, that's fine." So I went and asked Tony, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'll give it a shot." Like he's more like a laid back kind of person. He's like, "Yeah, I'll give him a shot." And that's how he ended up within a week they hired him. And my youngest brother, I would say like 6, almost 8 years later, he was a vet tech, and he was telling me about how much it's going to cost for him to go to school, and he's going to take out his student loan. I was like, and I told him, I was like, I bet you, I was like, I guarantee you, you'll make more money than a vet tech in 2 years doing this.
Yeah.
And his eyes opened up really big. I was like, yeah. I was like, when I told him how much I was making, he was like, oh, really? You know? So right off the bat, he came right in, and he didn't really have to do an interview. He was just, because he was introduced, because a lot of the guys used to come by us. Now we got 3 boys playing. We used to play basketball and all the other sports. So all the other technicians and stuff would come over by us to play ball or anything like that. So a lot of people knew us and knew him as well, that he just got pulled in. And right after that, February 28th came and I left, and everybody else left with me. The COVID happened, and we continued doing what we were doing, and I took a break, and I said, okay, maybe this will go away in like 2 weeks. Months later it wasn't.
Right.
But I just believed in and have faith in not only myself, but in a higher power. And I believe in God, and that's just what it is. Like, we continue doing what we're doing, and by God's grace, this is why, we're still in business through one of the hardest times, and even through the supply chain and all that.
Yeah, it was a crazy season for everyone, especially every state was different. New York was one of the hardest. And Vashon, it's such cool inspiration, the story that you, your wife, your brothers, I mean, your whole family have been able to make, just in the trades, but providing for your family as you move forward, and now your kiddos. If somebody's listening to you and they feel like things are hard, or they're overwhelmed, or they don't feel like they're making progress, or anything like that, like, is there one piece of advice you would tell someone based on what you know now?
I would say always do the right thing, even when somebody else is not watching, right? Like, you may not realize that doing the right thing, or I'll tell people I could live my life out of a glass jar. Even through that time when even my parents or other people were like, oh, are you crazy? Why are you still paying these people? Like, you don't have money. And I said, you know what? I still had faith in what it is that I believed in. And I think just always having that perseverance to continue pushing for what you believe in. I think that's what is. I mean, it's still not easy, right? It's hard even in these times. This is one of the roughest years that we had in the industry, and it's not just with us. It's just a lot of places, with the financial crisis and all that's happening. But I would say you gotta just stick the course. The road that's least traveled it's the hardest, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't give up on what you started, because if you give up, then there's no real purpose in that pain of whatever you're going through.
One of my favorite quotes from the show Peaky Blinders is this. I'm going to totally butcher it, but it's this idea of, if you want things no one else has, you have to do things no one else wants to do. And if you want to do it the easy way, if you want to do what everyone else does, you're going to have what everyone else has. But if you're trying to do something different, if you need something special, you have to do things no one else does. Vashon, it is great meeting you. Thank you so much for being generous with your time. I'll make sure the website for Perfect Efficiency Air Conditioning is listed in the show notes. But man, keep up the great work. Congrats for you and your family's success. It was awesome meeting you, man.
All right, same here. Thank you.
This episode was hosted by Ryan Redding, author of the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors, and founder of Levergy, the digital marketing solution for serious home service companies. You can subscribe to Blue Collar CEO on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us online at bluecollar.ceo and find us on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode. See you soon.